University of Massachusetts. A snowy day, classes canceled, campus quiet, a young woman sitting in her dorm room alone. She emails her professor to tell them there has been a death in the family. She will be away for the week. There has been no death in the family. She packs a bag, withdraws nearly all the money from her bank account, stops at a liquor store, and then, in her black Saturn sedan, she drives north into New Hampshire. She doesn't tell anyone where she's going. She doesn't tell anyone why. A few hours later, on a dark, winding road in the middle of rural New Hampshire, her car goes off the road and hits a snowbank. A neighbor stops to help. She declines, says AAA is on the way. The neighbor goes home and calls 911 anyway because there is no cell service on that road and he knows it. Police arrive. Maura Murray is gone. No footprints in the snow leading away from the car. No sightings. No phone activity. No bank activity. Just a cold, dark road. A damaged car with the hazard lights still blinking. And a young woman who vanished into the February night as completely as if she had never existed. More than 20 years later, she has never been found. Before February 9th, 2004, I want you to know who Maura Murray was. Maura Ann Murray was born on May 4th, 1982 in Brockton, Massachusetts. She was the fourth of 5 children. She had an older brother, Fred, 2 older sisters, Kathleen and Julie, and a younger half-brother, Kurt. Her parents divorced when she was 6. She was raised in an Irish Catholic household in Hanson, Massachusetts, a small town south of Boston. By all accounts, Maura was exceptional. In high school, she was a standout athlete, star of the track and cross-country teams, a strong basketball player. She was smart, academically driven, and deeply ambitious. She was accepted into the United States Military Academy at West Point, one of the most competitive and prestigious institutions in the country. She studied chemical engineering there for 3 semesters, but West Point wasn't the right fit for her. She made the difficult decision to transfer and enroll at the University of Massachusetts Amherst to study nursing. She was on the dean's list. She worked part-time as a security guard at an art gallery. She had a boyfriend, Bill Roche, a U.S. Army lieutenant stationed in Oklahoma. They had met at West Point. By some accounts, they were engaged. She loved the outdoors. Growing up, the Murray family had spent summers camping and hiking in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. The mountains were a place Maura associated with happiness, with family, with the best parts of her childhood. She was 21 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her. But in the months before she disappeared, something was quietly wrong. On October 2003, about 4 months before she disappeared, Maura was involved in a credit card fraud incident at UMass. A court hearing had been scheduled for December. Whether she attended that hearing and what the outcome was is unclear, but the charge was hanging offered to come inside and keep her company. Maura declined. That same weekend, Saturday, February 7th, her father, Fred, drove up to UMass to take Maura car shopping. Her black Saturn was running poorly. It had been having mechanical issues. The car shopping trip was unsuccessful. No new car was purchased. That night, Maura borrowed her father's car to drive to a nearby town. On the way back, she had an accident. She ran the car into a guardrail. Fred wasn't angry. The damage was manageable. He rented a car the next morning, dropped Maura back at UMass, and drove away. They agreed to talk Monday night about the insurance forms. That phone call never happened. Monday, February 9th, 2004. Classes at UMass Amherst were canceled that day due to a snowstorm. In the early morning hours, just past midnight, Maura used her computer to search MapQuest for two destinations, the Berkshires and Burlington, Vermont. Neither of these places would end up being where she went. She emailed her boyfriend Bill at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I love you more, stud. I got your messages, but honestly, I didn't feel like talking to much of anyone. I promised to call today, though. Love you, Maura. At 1:13 p.m., she called a fellow nursing student. The reason is unknown. At 1:24 p.m., she emailed her work supervisor at the nursing school to say she would be away for a week due to a death in the family. She would be in touch when she returned. There had been no death in the family. At 2:05 p.m., she called a number providing recorded information about booking hotels in Stowe, Vermont. At 2:18 p.m., she left a voice message for her boyfriend. At some point during the day, she also picked up the accident report forms she needed for her father's insurance claim. When campus police later searched her dorm room, they found most of her belongings packed in boxes. The art removed from the walls. She had packed clothing, toiletries, makeup, workout clothes, school books, and several days' worth of clothes for her trip. On top of the boxes, a printed email from her boyfriend, an old email dated 2 years earlier in which he had confessed to being unfaithful. Why she had printed it, why she had left it there, whether it meant something or nothing, no one knows. At 3:15 p.m., surveillance cameras captured Maura withdrawing $280 from an ATM, nearly everything she had in her account. She was alone. At a nearby liquor store, she purchased around $40 worth of alcohol, Bailey's Irish Cream, Kahlua, vodka, and a box of Franzia wine. She was alone. At 4:37 p.m., she checked her voicemail for the last time. And then Maura Murray drove north. Alone. Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire is a winding two-lane road that passes through dense forest and small scattered communities. It is remote, beautiful, in the way that rural New England in winter is beautiful. Dark trees, white snow, silence. On a February night in bad weather, it is not the kind of road you want to be on if something goes wrong. At some point between 7 o'clock and 7:30 p.m., Maura Murray's black Saturn went off Route 112 touched it. Police were dispatched. The first police officer arrived at 7:46 p.m. Maura was gone. The hazard lights were still blinking. A cloth was tucked into the gas cap. Some accounts described it as a makeshift distress signal. Inside the car, investigators found some of the alcohol Maura had purchased. An open bottle of wine. No wallet, no phone. Her purse was with her. She had taken it when she left the car. Search dogs were brought in. One dog tractor sent approximately 100 yards east along the road and then lost it. The scent ended in the road, which to investigators and searchers suggested one thing. She had gotten into a vehicle. The time between Butch Atwood leaving the scene and the police arriving was approximately 10 minutes. 10 minutes. In that window, in the dark, on a remote, snowy road, something happened to Maura Murray. The search for Maura began immediately. Police, search dogs, helicopters, all deployed in the days that followed. Volunteers came from across the region. Cadaver dogs searched the woods on either side of Route 112. Dive teams searched local waterways. Fred Murray, Maura's father, arrived quickly and threw himself into the search with a ferocity that has never diminished. He searched those woods almost every weekend for years. He was warned about trespassing complaints. He kept going. He has never stopped looking for his daughter. The Murray family created a website. They went on national television. Fred petitioned the governor of New Hampshire for help. America was watching. And yet, no trace of Maura was found. No credible sightings. No bank activity. No phone activity. No clothing. No personal belongings. No remains. It was as though she had simply ceased to exist on that stretch of road. In 2005, the New Hampshire State Police took over the investigation from local authorities. In 2009, her case was added to the newly established New Hampshire Cold Case Unit. In 2017, a property near the crash site was partially excavated until after cadaver dogs alerted investigators. Nothing was found. In 2022, investigators executed a ground search off Route 112 in the towns of Easton and Land Ave. Nothing. The FBI's Violent Criminal Apprehension Program is involved. The New Hampshire Attorney General's office is involved. 21 years of searching, no answers. Maura Murray's case has generated more theories, more online investigation, and more dedicated amateur research than almost any other missing persons case in modern American history. People have devoted years of their lives to it. Forums, podcasts, books, documentaries. Every detail of the days leading up to her disappearance has been analyzed, debated, and reanalyzed. Let me walk you through the main theories. Theory number 1. She was abducted. This is what the Murray family believes. It is the theory most consistent with the physical evidence, particularly the fact that the tracking dog lost her scent in the road, suggesting she entered a vehicle rather than walking into the woods. A private investigator hired by the family, Lou Berry, a former police chief, concluded that Maura was likely picked up by someone. Whether that ride was accepted willingly or not is unknown. If she was picked up by a stranger on that dark road in those 10 minutes before police arrived, that person has never come forward. Late 2004, a man came to had led her to want to start over, that she accepted a ride willingly that night and is somewhere alive. Maura's family flatly rejects this theory. They know their daughter. They do not believe she would have put them through more than 20 years of grief and uncertainty voluntarily. And there is something else. No bank activity, no credit cards used, no phone ever turned on, no sightings that have ever been verified. People who disappear voluntarily leave traces eventually. 21 years is a very long time to maintain perfect silence. Theory number 3. Something happened after the crash before anyone arrived. A contractor driving along Route 112 between 8 and 8:30 that night after the crash, after Butch Atwood's interaction with Maura, reported seeing a young person moving quickly on foot eastbound about 4 to 5 miles from the crash site. If that sighting is accurate, Maura was alive and moving on her own at least 30 minutes after the crash. Whether she had gotten a ride and been let out, or had been walking the whole time, or whether the sightings was of someone else entirely, no one knows. There are also questions that have lingered about the police response on that night. Details in the police logs have been disputed. The local police chief's account of his own movements that evening has been questioned. Whether those discrepancies mean anything or are simply the normal inconsistencies of a busy winter evening in a small town is a matter of significant debate. I want to come back to the people because this case is at its heart about a family. Fred Murray, Maura's father, a man who rented a car that Sunday morning, dropped his daughter off at her dorm, drove away, and never saw her again. A man who has spent over 20 years driving back to New Hampshire, walking through those woods, knocking on doors, filing lawsuits, appearing in interviews, refusing to accept silence. Julie Murray, Maura's older sister, now the family's spokesperson, has carried this burden with a quiet, fierce grace. She has said that what began as a desperate hope to find Maura alive and bring her home for Thanksgiving has, over the years, shifted. Now the hope is simply for answers. I never once thought, Julia said, that I needed to be okay with never having an answer. She has also said, my dad's getting older. I want some answers for my dad's sake. Somebody knows something. Somebody doesn't just disappear literally without a trace. Maura Murray would be 43 years old today. Somewhere in New Hampshire, in those cold, beautiful mountains that she loved as a child, there may be an answer waiting. The disappearance of Maura Murray has been called the internet's first true crime obsession, before podcasts, before dedicated YouTube channels, before the genre became what it is today. People were gathering in online forums, sharing phone logs and police records and MapQuest screenshots, trying to piece together what happened on that road. In some ways, Maura's case helped create the world that you and I inhabit right now. This world of people who care deeply about the stories behind missing persons cases, who refuse to let a name become just a cold case number. But the Murray family has asked something of the true crime community. They have asked us to remember that Maura was a person, not a puzzle to